It's go time. The Notorious Friday Night Posse is back, tearing into news, tech, sports, and all the crap that's got us fired up this week. So grab a beer, crank the volume, and let's roll, Patriots. This is the NFNP. And just like that, we are recording. So the very first episode, the pilot episode, if you will, of the Notorious Friday Night Podcast, or the NFNP, if you will. I'm joined today by a fellow NFNP member, an original NFNP member, Duds. Duds joining me. My name is Bright. And Duds, I mean, it's been a long time since we've introduced the NFNP days, going all the way back to high school, right?
Yeah, I didn't know if we'd ever do that, Bratman.
Bring the NFNP back, right?
Yeah, it's about time. I think we needed to do it. So.
I think we needed to do it. I mean, we're what, more than 20 years past high school, I think. I don't know what the exact number is, but we're in our early 40s now. So this is if you ask me, this is a good way to relive those high school days and get the gang back together. Now, we couldn't get the whole gang back together. I think there's about like 5 or 6 of us technically in the NFNP, and most of them are being pretty lame, felt that this podcast was a dumb idea. But I said, everybody's doing a podcast these days. Why can't we? And we're going to give it a shot. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get some of them on future episodes. But in lieu of that, we've brought on a special guest host for tonight, Teach. Teach, why don't you say hi?
Hey, what's up, guys? I think your friends are super lame for not being on, and they're going under the guise of being too busy, which is just complete bullshit, because you two are the only two that have kids, and the rest of them are all childless. So they cannot possibly be busier than people who have children and full-time jobs. So it's just horseshit.
I think that's a very, very valid point. What do you think?
Brutally honest.
I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm here to teach and school all the people who don't know anything. That's literally why I'm here.
Well, we're going to need you.
If we had 3 more listeners, they're gone now. So
that could be true, but we're going to need Teach tonight because Duds and I, we lean a certain way when it comes to politics and news, and Teach is going to keep us honest a little bit, I think. So that'll be good. That'll be a good counterbalance to Duds and I. But, it's kind of like when we go out to guys' night, we just kind of bullshit and talk about what's going on in the world today and how crazy the other side of the aisle is. So I said we should just do that on a podcast. So that's what this is going to be.
There's never anyone on the other side of the aisle to keep you in your place when you go to guys' night. So.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that either, I don't think, because you're not in the know. So you're just going to have to take my word for everything we talk about here. All right. Well, should we just jump on in? I have an outline here. I did a little preparation, believe it or not, but being that the news is a 24-hour cycle these days, it's crazy. So there's a big news story today, and I thought we'd have to kick it off with this. And hopefully you guys are in the know because this is breaking news. If you haven't heard, Israel and Hamas officially have a ceasefire deal in place that was negotiated by Trump. So I don't know what you guys think about that. You guys you're aware, I hope, at least, right?
I think I did hear about this. Yes.
Well, it is breaking news. So super good for the world, obviously. But there is some pretty crazy things here. So this is just phase 1 of this U.S. Trump-led peace plan. So the hostages are coming back. So Trump has said that the hostages should be back, should be repatriated by Monday or Tuesday of next week. Now there's roughly 48 hostages still in Gaza, but unfortunately, only about 20 of them, approximately 20, are expected to be alive. But nevertheless, yeah, I know it's not good. This has been going on for 2 years. October 7th, we just had the 2-year anniversary. And of course, President Biden had the opportunity to end this war. He was not able to do so. and President Trump, and he's getting credit from both sides of the aisle. I think the left is a little bit in shock that he was able to broker this deal. But there is some other crazy facts here. So ready for this? All right. So the Israelis, they have to hand over almost 2,000 Palestinian prisoners that they have in their keep, 250 of which are serving life sentences. So that probably means that they've killed people. So they're handing over 2,000 prisoners, and the Israelis, the U.S., we're getting back 20 in exchange. So there's going to be a ceasefire on top of that, and then there's going to be a phase 2 maybe after that. We'll have to see.
How does that make sense? Like 2,000 to 20? A lot of people for not a lot of people.
Yeah, certainly, but we needed this to end, and of course there's been a lot of protests here in the United States. The Palestinians, those that aren't a part of Hamas, they're really having a tough time of this. Of course, they've had a lot of deaths on their side. The Israelis are, they're going at it, but they can't take over Gaza. President Trump said that he wasn't going to let Israel annex Gaza. So there's only so much to do. So it is kind of nuts, and it is breaking news. But the overall question, I think, out of all of this is, President Trump has really gotten a lot of peace deals done in the short time that he's been in office here in his second term. Only, what has it been, 10 months now, something like that. So one, is he going to get credit for this? I think from the right, he'll definitely get credit for this. Is the left going to give Trump the credit he deserves here for ending this war? And with this momentum, can he broker a peace deal in Ukraine? He's already done a lot. He's got the Armenia-Azerbaijan peace deal in place. The Congo-Rwanda peace deal is in place. Now we have Israel-Hamas. He also brokered a peace deal with India and Pakistan, Thailand and Cambodia. So that's a lot of wars that he's ended. People have nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize, and he has an opportunity here to piggyback and end the Ukraine war next with Russia. So, my question, I guess, to you guys is: Trump going to get the credit that he deserves for being, an ender of wars, and can he end the war in Ukraine? Duds, let's start with you. What are your thoughts?
I would say we know that he's definitely not going to get any credit for anything good that he does from the left. I mean, on the right, yeah, they'll give him the credit where it's due, but I think this is just another thing that he's done right, that he will just kind of be expected to perform. And as far as Russia and Ukraine, I could totally see that happening, but that's, once again, it'll just kind of fly right over their heads. They won't really care. The guy could cure cancer, and he's not going to be getting any Nobel Peace Prizes.
I think that's a valid point. We've seen him do so much, in the 10 months that he's been in his second term, and the left just don't want to give him credit for anything that he does successfully. Whether you're on the right or the left, certainly he has a lot of those accomplishments. But here, now brokering another peace deal, I think that puts all the pressure on Russia to settle and negotiate a peace deal with Ukraine as well, because there's no wars left. There's nobody left except for them. So the entire world is going to turn their eyes back to Russia, Ukraine. And if you remember, back before October 7th, 2 years ago, that's all anybody would talk about. That was all that was on the news, was that one story. And then all of a sudden, October 7th happened, and it completely shifted the narrative. And now, of course, we'll have some news and everything that's going to go on with this first phase of the peace deal. But then I think the narrative's going to have to shift back. Teach, what do you think about that?
Which question am I answering?
any question. I mean, is the narrative going to switch back? Does Trump have the momentum to broker a deal? Is the left going to give him the credit that he deserves? Why couldn't President Biden get this done?
Man, there's so many things to unpack there. I'm going to try and answer them all. I think he is unlikely to get the credit you think he deserves. I think right now in this podcast, you're giving him quite a lot of credit. So he's probably, filling his piggy bank right now with accolades.
Yeah, the podcast that nobody's going to listen to but the three of us.
Yeah. He's definitely getting some accolades from you and Duds. And so
Come on, Teach.
I don't know. I think when you talk about the left not wanting to give him credit, I think it's really hard to give someone credit when there's like other things that they disagree with. And so there's other things that Trump has done that the left is not crazy about. And so it's hard to be like, he's a great person in this one area. Like I'm happy that he's brokered deals and, ended wars, and that's all great. But also like there's some, questionable things in your personal life that maybe like it's hard to praise somebody when in the back of your mind you're like, oh, but they're also not a great person in this other area. And so I think they probably won't get the credit in the way that you're hoping. I don't think he will get the credit in the way that you're hoping he will get the credit. I think also this Ukraine thing, like I hope it will happen. Like I hope he'll end it, because I do think you're right. Like they were getting a bunch of publicity like a couple years ago, and now it's kind of disappeared from the narrative. And I even find myself being like, is that thing in Ukraine still going on? Like I'm not sure. Can anybody look that up for me real quick? Like what's happening over there? Because I like haven't heard anything in a while. Whereas like 2 years ago, it was like nobody could not talk to me about it.
Sure. So, and, to be fair, the mainstream media isn't covering it as much. We're not getting as many updates, and the death toll, I think, continues to rise. But we're not hearing it on a day-to-day basis and what's going on.
I don't hear about it at all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Me neither.
So, we'll end this breaking news, segment with, props. I think we all have to give props to President Trump, to the United States, to Marco Rubio for brokering this peace deal with Hamas and Israel. Now, this has happened before. We'll see if Hamas will live up to their end of the deal and honor not only phase one but move on to phase two, whatever that entails. So, Hamas has been around a long time, so we'll see.
I will say that this is a pretty successful shutdown so far.
The government shutdown, you mean?
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, we're in, I don't know what it is exactly, day 9, day 10 of the government shutdown. I've got that pinned up for another segment if we're lucky enough to talk about that. But it has been a successful shutdown in the sense that the Democrats, if you're on the right, I think the Democrats are really getting a lot of heat for the shutdown. We haven't had any major we haven't fired any major people or anything like that. It hasn't gone on too long that people are missing paychecks yet. But yet. I mean, that's certainly the big word in that sentence is eventually they will miss paychecks, and then there will be more pressure, I think, on the Republicans to end the shutdown. But right now, I think the ball is in the court of the Democrats, I guess, right? They're the ones that have to come and negotiate with the Republicans. I think the Republicans have all the power. They have the hand, if you will. So we'll see. But sticking with government, there's a big story, and this was my original headliner, and this is the J. Jones text messages. So I don't know if you guys have heard about this. Duds, are you familiar with this one at all?
Remind me.
So we're in St. Louis, obviously, so Missouri, but we're not paying attention to Virginia politics all that often. But this one certainly made headlines. And Jay Jones, who's the attorney general, he's in the attorney general race. He had some leaked text messages hit the interwebs, if you will, and they're not great. they're actually really bad. So let me read you. I just got one chain of the text messages here in front of me, but let me read you what he said. He said, "If those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves. Send them out awash in something. 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, which is the Republican that he's referencing here, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. So we're recording this, obviously, after Charlie Kirk and also after the incident with the shooting at the ICE detention center. So violence is certainly front and center in the news cycle. A very politically motivated violence. Of course, we have President Trump, who
and Bright, there was a shooting at a synagogue not too long ago either. So if you want to talk about hate violence, like that was
absolutely
not that long ago either.
So that was in England, and obviously religious motivated, but nevertheless, it's violence and
semi-politically. When we just got off the tangent, or not the tangent, when we just got off the conversation about the Israel Palestine back and forth Hamas issue,
absolutely.
Then you have a shooting at a synagogue. For sure.
Yeah,
definitely
I couldn't agree more. So we've got a lot of this in the news, and I know these texts were from 2022, but here we have a prominent Democrat in Virginia who is calling for the murder of a political opponent. And he goes on, and I don't have those text messages in front of me, but he goes on to to call for the murder of his children and his wife as well. This Republican pundit who is called Gilbert. So again, he says, if it was Hitler and Pol Pot, I had to look up who Pol Pot was. I'm not sure, Duds, teach that you might know who this is.
Communist?
So he's a communist.
Millions of people.
Yeah, communist son of a bitch. I should have known who he was. So he was a communist dictator from Cambodia. That's right. And he's responsible for the deaths of 1.5 to 2 million people back in probably like the 70s. I think he got booted from power and died in the 70s. But you're telling me between Hitler and Pol Pot, you have 2 bullets and you're going to shoot this Republican. So obviously
Let me weigh in on this.
Please,
okay.
Please do.
From a teacher point of view, as a historian, good. Okay, everybody knows who Hitler is. Okay, whatever. You can say it left or right. People throw out Nazi all the time, right? Like it's all over Seinfeld. But this guy knows who this Cambodian communist dictator is. Like, bravo for knowing your history. Like, that's all I'm going to say.
Jay Jones or Duds?
Both.
Well,
yes.
Okay, good for that. But I don't think I'm going to give Jay Jones any props for saying that he's going to piss on his opponent's graves and he's going to shoot him in the head twice.
But see now we're going back to my previous comment about how we can give Trump all these accolades for ending war, but we can also at the same time be like, you're not a great person in this arena. So here's the same situation. Not a great person in this arena of text messages, but good job on history.
Okay, but does that mean that he's qualified to be the Virginia Attorney General and that he should stay in this race, or should he drop out? Certainly President Trump, Governor Youngkin of Virginia, they're calling for this guy to drop out of the race.
I'm going to let Dubs weigh in on that one.
Yeah, I would weigh in on that because I think anybody who thinks like this and is willing to put it in a text message to, who did he text this to anyway?
So that's what's kind of crazy. He texted this to a political friend who is a Republican. So she actually, in the text messages, she says, please stop. It really bothers me when you talk about hurting people or wishing death on them. So, of course, everything she said was perfect. Right. Now, I only have a snapshot of this text chain. Who knows what they were talking about before or after this. But at least in this clip, she's like, stop calling for the murder of people and children.
And I mean, anybody involved, he should obviously, suspend his campaign and drop out.
Yes.
I don't think there's any place for people that think that way about their political opponents in office. And anybody, especially after the whole Charlie Kirk incident and all that, with the people coming out and
Exactly.
supporting that, is just
It,
a
it
whole nother level of wrong that
it
doesn't
is
belong in this
crazy.
country.
Yeah, but we are seeing more and more of that. Certainly with Charlie Kirk, we saw a lot of people on the left, mainly young, very young liberals, celebrate his death and murder. And I think it's kind of become commonplace. And then this is just another example. And the biggest problem with it, I think, of course, the text messages are bad. And Jones did apologize publicly, and he said he's embarrassed, ashamed, and sorry. So, okay,
We got
that's a good,
something.
yeah, that's a good first step, of course. But the main problem is that the Democrats, even though they're condemning the language, they're still standing by him in the race. And I think that's the biggest story is the hypocrisy that you see on the left from Democrats. And we'll say, of course, Democrats in office. I don't mean everyday Democrats that, we have lunch with or work with, but Democrats that were elected into office are still supporting him for this race because they feel, I guess, that this race is more important than the person that they put into the position. And again,
does that surprise you? That doesn't surprise me.
Of course not. It doesn't surprise me one left. I think that's what we're used to seeing out of the left. But if this were a Republican that said this, it would be all over the news. It would be, every Democrat, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, AOC, they'd all be calling for this guy to drop out of the race. But as of yesterday, I don't have updated stats on this, but of all the major news networks, only one station covered this story, and they covered it for 63 seconds. So I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was like NBC covered this story for 63 seconds. CBS covered it for 0. CNN covered it for 0. ABC covered it for 0. They're trying to, cover this up and hope that, the story will go away, especially with the breaking news, that we just covered. That it gets buried in the headlines, and then this race will go on. And even polling in Virginia is showing that, that they're still supporting this guy, that he still has the best chances to win, which just blows my mind.
Oh, go ahead,
Teach. Go ahead, Teach. You spin it up.
Well, Bright had mentioned something about hypocrisy and this conflicting with the narrative that was being placed about Charlie Kirk's death. And I'm wondering if you can speak more about what the hypocrisy is, because so far it sounds like there's no hypocrisy. There's just two different instances where people are having pretty violent words.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily have examples off the top of my head, but I will get back to you because there are certainly examples where a Republican has said something or texted something that probably isn't the most appropriate, and the Democrats call for their head, and
yeah,
certainly, whether it's President Trump or RFK Jr. or whoever it is, they maybe caught saying something and they're like, get him out of there. They got to go. How can this person be in office? And yet here that you got this Democrat that said horrific things. And then they're like, well, he shouldn't have said them, but let's make bygones be bygones and keep him in the race. He's got a chance to win, and that's more important.
I think that this is a great learning opportunity for everyone. And you and I have talked about this many, many times, that whatever you type in an email, whatever you text to a friend, that is permanent. Anybody can take a screenshot of that. They can forward it to your boss. They can send it around the internet. It is not private. And I think a lot of people think oh, I'm just texting with my friend. I'm going to be absurd. And maybe I had a couple scotches and I'm going to say something risque to make my friend laugh. And I think maybe that's the situation. I don't know. Maybe that's the situation that happened here. I had a few too many cocktails. I was going to be risque with my friend. I was trying to get a laugh. I was trying to get a rise out of them, but maybe I didn't really mean it. And now it's very public knowledge, and people are whoa, I cannot believe you said that. I cannot believe that you are in office. I cannot believe that you are representing us or want to represent us. And this is just the advice that I have to everybody. It's like, do you like, they're texting me stuff that's starting to get up there, and I'm like, do you want to talk on the phone? Because what you're saying, you maybe don't want to be like screenshotted or sent or like copied or like going anywhere else. Like if you say it verbally, maybe.
I think that's a great point, but I counter that with, you agreed to be on this podcast.
Who, me?
Well, all of us technically, but yeah.
Okay,
you.
and this is why we're not on photo, right? Like, I'm Teach. I'm not my real life human person.
For episode 1, and you as a guest host, yes. But certainly everything we say here, assuming I publish this, which I guess technically is still up in the air, but our words will be out there. And, it's fun, it's exciting, but I also think it's important. It's important that people have these conversations. The fact that I even wanted to do this podcast started kind of fun, but it's not to say that I haven't been inspired by Charlie Kirk, Joe Rogan, hell, even Bill Maher, from the other side of the aisle, comes out and is able to talk about these things. So, all right, well, let's move on. Unless anybody has any. Yeah, go ahead.
I do have a couple things I just wanted to say about this. So this guy, to me, he either just has a horrible, misunderstanding of how politics should work and the type of demeanor you're supposed to have with your, political opponents. He's calling for, the murder of his political opponent over fascists and communists that murdered millions of people in history, right? So yes, he's either too dense to realize that he's on the side that is supporting the murder of their political opponents, or he is an obvious communist, which is what I think he probably is. I think there's probably a lot of them that are, maybe they don't even know, but that's really, they live that ideal, and they push for things like this. I mean, communists, that's what they do. They murder their opponents, and they don't feel bad about it. They think it's just part of the game,
And I think that's the worry in this country right now, after Charlie Kirk, after President Trump, surviving 2 attempts on his life, one of which he was actually shot, and people do worry that we slip back into the days of the 60s, where, of course, we saw a lot of political assassinations and, and political violence. And not that we haven't seen political violence, it's just been championed. We've seen political violence in the form of Antifa and, other organizations where they burn down buildings and have massive riots and looting.
You can't support that. You have to come out and condemn that, both sides.
Exactly.
And these people like this guy should be ostracized from all communities. He shouldn't be able to run. Nobody should support him.
Well, right.
The fact that they're coming out and giving him grace for this is just unbelievable.
Yeah. So I mean, number one is he should drop out. Just if he has any kind of self-worth and morality, he should drop out. But 2 is, the people shouldn't vote him in. So if the people vote him in after that, that's almost an even bigger problem, and speaks, even more broadly to our society.
The people want to vote him in. Right.
Well, yeah, I guess
that's
the
whole point of an election, right? Like, that's the whole point of being elected.
That's what they say,
the people
though.
Get to choose.
You can vote in communism, but you got to fight your way out of it.
That's very well said, Duds. All right, let's move on. That was our headliner. So we had some breaking news. We had our headliner. So let's head to the quick draw segment. So we won't talk about these topics as in depth, but I have some interesting topics. They all hit the news this week, and let's start with that Palisades fire. You guys remember that huge fire that burned? Mm-hmm. I think it scorched over 23,000 acres in L.A. So talk about a huge fire, most destructive fire, burned down houses, worth millions and millions of dollars. But they arrested somebody, which is crazy. I don't think I didn't expect that. So that was breaking news the other day too. But I just assumed that either this fire started naturally or, you know, maybe some idiot started it, but like they're never going to catch this guy. So, well, they caught
Did
him.
you hear how they found him?
Yeah, yeah. So pretty crazy stuff. I mean, they have some video of him. They tracked, he's an Uber driver. So they were able to track his Uber, track his cell phone. They were able to match up the lighter that was used. He created pictures and asked questions on ChatGPT, and they were able to, yeah. So he created pictures of the city of Los Angeles burning. They saw him at the scene watching firefighters try and put out the flames, which is something that arsonists do, but also serial killers and murderers and stuff like that.
I was going to say also everybody who commits a crime
they
goes back and
return to the
watches
scene
it.
of the crime. Exactly. So those are just some of the ways that they got evidence on this guy. They've got some DNA evidence, I understand. So this guy, 29-year-old man from Florida. So I guess he moved to LA. I don't know. His name is Jonathan Rinderknecht. German last name, I guess, or something like that. Can't quite pronounce it. But he's on federal charges for intentionally igniting the fire. And what also is pretty crazy is he lit the fire on January 1st, but it actually smoldered underground until it was reignited under windy conditions on January 7th. So pretty crazy. And, you know, maybe he thought he got away with it. Maybe he thought it didn't take off, and then it did. And that's when he's on ChatGPT asking if, you know, he can get in trouble, for lighting this fire. I think he used his cigarette or something like that. I think they got this guy, and a lot of work to do so. But like I said, geolocation, 911 call data, you know, the lighter in his car matched the one that was on the scene and on the video. The ChatGPT generated images. So he's facing arson charges, but 12 people died because of this fire. So while they haven't charged him with, you know, manslaughter or involuntary, whatever they're going to charge him with, it's possible that he gets charged in those deaths somehow, and he could face the death penalty. So, you know, pretty crazy for something so stupid.
Well, and I wonder too, like, if it was if a whole week passed that this fire is burning underground, it's like, did he mean to do it, or did he think like he was following Smokey the Bear's advice, like, oh, you got to bury your fire, like, oh, I thought I did it right.
Based on his ChatGPT conversations that they have, and I haven't seen them, I'm not necessarily privy to all that, but from the press conference, they made it seem like, no, he meant to do this. This was on purpose. He was trying to start a fire. And of course, it was in fire season in California. Oh,
Super dry. Just going back to my previous comment, like everything you type and text is
not the text, ChatGPT,
she
Google,
not private.
Right? No, exactly. You know, the police can always get a warrant. They go to your phone company. They go to OpenAI. They go to X, whatever it is. They can find that information, even if it's deleted. So you're never safe. So pretty crazy stuff. Duds, comments?
I mean, I would just say that you know, if they find this guy guilty, then the maximum penalty should be placed on him.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely. I think he faces.
Obviously, you gotta, you know, make sure that, like Teach said, I mean, that is kind of crazy that it's like almost a whole week that goes by. How does that even happen? You know, smoldering underground for 6 days.
And I guess this is pretty common. The way that they made it seem is this is pretty common out in California and in forest fires that we see in Canada and other places in the country, that this kind of stuff can happen when the conditions are right. So yeah, it's pretty nuts. So he faces.
Do they have video? They have video footage of him?
Yes, starting the fire. Yep.
Okay.
My question is, how do they prove, I guess in theory, that it's the same fire?
Right. I mean, there's it doesn't seem like cut and dried. I mean, it doesn't sound like maybe we just don't have all the information, you know?
Yeah, we don't have all the information, certainly. But in theory, this is going to go to trial unless they have some kind of deal. But this will go to trial. He faces between 5 and 20 years in prison for the arson charges. And then the ATF and the FBI, the local police, whatever it may be, they're going to have to prove, obviously, to a jury that this happened and this is the same fire. So we'll have to wait
and the
and
evidence, the evidence that listed geolocation, 911 call. I mean, okay, what does that tell you? A lighter found in his car. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And we already know that the pinging of the towers and all that is like unreliable, right? Like if you watch or listen to any serial and the Adnan Syed case, like you already know that that's like wishy-washy anyway.
So that happened in 1999.
Okay, good point. Like
so
maybe the tech is better
since then. I mean, just think about Uber in general, and that's one of the things that they're using. If you order an Uber car, you know every single turn that car makes. You know exactly where they're at, how long they're going to be. So I think they got this guy.
Right. I don't know. They cannot find me in New York City. They're like, which block are you on?
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
True. That is a little bit different. Should we switch up to the roundup? Do some other stories. All right. I'm going to share my screen here. So what I did is I put a little wheel together with a couple of stories, and we can kind of decide how many times we want to spin this wheel, and which stories we want to talk about based on how much time we got here. So I got a couple of stories. Let's spin the wheel. Let's see what story we want to talk about.
Did you make that?
Well, the wheel is from Google. All right. This is a good story. So I don't know if you guys have heard this. Yeah, so this is a non-political story, so good for anybody that's not interested in politics. So this Brazilian couple, a younger couple, 37, 41, so roughly our age, if you will, they were found dead in a motel in a bathtub in Brazil, in San Jose, Brazil. So they had been out during the day. They were celebrating their daughter's birthday. She had turned 4, so I guess there was some drinking going on. But they dropped off their daughter at a family member's house, and then they checked into this motel where eventually they were found dead, right? They didn't check in till almost midnight, which right off the bat, I'm like, what? And then the plan was supposedly that they were going to go out clubbing that night. So they check into the motel a little bit before midnight, and then they're going to go out clubbing. Well, that never happened, obviously. And yeah, so the next morning, nobody had heard from them. They call the police. The police track them down to this motel. They, they break in or whatever, and they're in the bathtub, dead. And after some investigation, they died from being in hot water, right? They didn't drown or anything like that. They died from overheating. Here is what I think is crazy about this story, is the water temperature of the bathtub was 122 degrees Fahrenheit.
When the police get there, or they had determined it was 120 prior?
It doesn't say if that was, because certainly if time had gone on, you would have thought it would cool. Maybe
it would have cooled.
Maybe they ran the hot water and that was the temperature of the hot water, and they're estimating maybe scientifically they can somehow track that.
Pretty hot.
That is very hot.
Right?
That is my point. So if you're in a hot tub, a standard hot tub,
it's like 104.
Is 104, I think. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like right? 104. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing.
Really hot.
My kid, my 3-year-old puts his foot in like 90-degree bath water, and he's like, it's too hot, right? So like in my head, I'm like, you're a grown adult person. You go to step into the bathtub and you're like, woo, that's not only hot, that's like scalding. Like, why do you then get in the bathtub? So like my question is, I'm feeling drugs and or alcohol are involved.
Well, there you go. Hit the nail on the head there, Teach. So toxicology revealed high levels of alcohol, so high levels, and traces of cocaine. So that right there is crazy. The family is saying like this isn't normal. They wouldn't. They don't do cocaine. Of course, they were going out clubbing. Maybe maybe they were like, oh, let's do something fun here, something different. And they couldn't handle it. I don't know. But high levels of alcohol, traces of cocaine. But the other crazy thing about this story is there was a space heater that was left on in the room. So I know it's technically winter in Brazil, or shoulder season, if you will. But it's that hot, no wonder. So it contributed to their heat stroke. So is foul play a thing here? The police ruled it out. The family's saying, something ain't right. They also ruled out electrocution, carbon monoxide. They say it's 100% heat stroke. But who's liable here? 2 degrees Fahrenheit? Maybe it's the hotel. I don't know.
Did you say shoulder season earlier?
Yeah, that is what I'm like. I have to
What
think.
is that?
Is
It's
it?
like sweater. It's like sweater weather, right? Like you got like your bare shoulders out, but like you're wearing.
Okay.
You got like the
That
cold
is
shoulder
not what I
outfit
mean.
on.
It's either fall or spring. So I guess it's fall here, so it'd be spring in Brazil right now. So that's what I meant. It's neither winter nor summer there. It's either fall or spring. But I had to do the calculation. I couldn't figure it out. Shoulder season it is.
To answer your question, and I think I know why I had the issue on the recording stopped. I had to take out my headphones because they ran out of battery. But to answer your question on is there there's definitely foul play afoot. Okay. No one is in their right mind stepping into a bathtub that's 120 degrees and then being like, yeah, cool, I'll stay here. And then I'm
Yeah,
also
I don't
turning
even
on the
think you
space
could get
heater.
in there.
No, it's going to be
It'd be
scalding
too
hot.
hot.
You're going to be like, no way. I'm going to either throw some ice cubes in it. I'm going to turn the cold water on. I'm going to let it sit for an hour and come back in a minute. And like you're going out clubbing, but first you're going to take a bath. Like that doesn't make sense either. Like maybe a shower, but like I'm not taking a bath. And then the space heater's on. They're trying to fudge the temperature of their death so that they don't know when they died.
Yeah, that's interesting. That that certainly that would speed
That makes
up
sense,
that absolutely makes sense. It would speed up the decomposition, especially the longer it takes for the police to find them. So they found them pretty quick. So so there's that. But I think that's a very good point. I don't know how, especially they got a 4-year-old at home.
I don't know. Does that mess you up if somebody killed you somewhere else and then they threw you in the tub, but they heated everything up to warm your body temperature up? I don't know if that would throw off their.
It would, and it would change the way that you would like have rigor mortis. Like,
sure.
hi, welcome. Teach also did a forensics class. Like, it messes up the way that your body, the blood settles. It messes up the way that your body goes through rigor mortis.
So they can't determine the time of death.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's too many variables because there's also like they can tell when you died based on like how cold your body is, but they can't tell that because your body's 120 because you're sitting in a bathtub that's like obnoxiously hot.
Right. Yep. I think foul play too. It definitely doesn't sound.
Well,
I agree. There's no way you're not getting into a tub of water that's 122 degrees. That's
maybe
these
Brazilian police are taking the easy way out, calling it drug-induced stupidity, if you will. I don't know.
No, man, they're in on it.
You think the police are in it? Now, this is a conspiracy now.
Someone's paying them, or there's somebody on the inside, or they had something to do with it, man. Like, no, they know exactly what happened, and they're like, I don't know that they're just taking the easy road, but like, I think somebody's a mole. Something's going on here. Totally conspiracy theory. Yep.
Well, we will save the official conspiracy theories for a future episode, and I have some other stories on that wheel. I'll save them maybe for next week's episode. Maybe we'll throw in a couple more, depending on our time. We could do some more of those stories. So that brings us more or less to the end of the podcast. I have our around the horn, or our last call segment, if you will. Any other topics, anything else going on this week that you guys just have to talk about that we missed? Duds, why don't we start with you?
No, come back to me. I'm going to think for a second.
All right. You think for a second. Teach, Teach what's going on in your world. Anything that we didn't cover that we just have to talk about in the next
Well, I mean,
9 minutes.
You talked a lot about politics and you talked a lot about like current events, and I'm just like really bummed that you didn't talk about the new Taylor Swift album because it is like hot in my feed right now.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned you already went and you saw the movie, if you will.
Twice.
Twice, yes. You saw it twice.
Went to the official video release party, not once, but 2 times, and I very much enjoyed it. And, your world is talking a lot about news and what's happening with the Republican Party, and my world is just talking about T Swift and how she's just like, this album is slang.
This album is slang.
It's slang, man. Like, it's so
slaying.
Great.
Slaying.
What did I say?
Well, that's probably what you said, but I don't know. I think you said it's slang, like some other kind of slang that I didn't know what the hell you were talking about.
No, I said it is slaying. It is so good. I can't stop listening to it. It's bopping around in my head while I'm trying to teach my students, and it's bopping around my head while I'm driving, and my 6-year-old singing it. So, yeah, it's there.
Well, the only song that I've heard is Ophelia, and it is catchy. I do like it.
It's good, man. The music video.
I saw the music video. Yeah.
On point.
Yeah, very good. And, it's a little bit of a local story for us, being the fact that we're Missourians, and she's engaged now to a Kansas City chief, and living half of her life in Kansas City, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll chalk that up as a win for Missouri, and good luck to Taylor Swift and her new album. I guess we'll endorse it here. 6 thumbs up, right?
We don't need to, because she's already she's just killing it on the pre-sales. We're killing it at Target, and the sales on Apple, iTunes. Yeah. Like, she doesn't need our endorsement. We're chump change, man.
Good for her. I'm sure she needs more money.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Duds, what do you got for us? Anything to wrap up the week?
Yeah, I think the one thing I wanted to talk to you about was how crazy the AI image stuff is, isn't it?
Yeah, you have been blowing up the group chat with some Grok videos and the like. And I think, honestly, don't take this the wrong way, you're a little bit behind the times on what AI can do now. Elon Musk has come out and said that by next year, Grok will be making full-length videos, and by 2027, that those videos will actually be watchable. Those movies, those movies will be watchable. So
coming out nuts. And they're not watchable. Like, they're coming out, but like, you don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Bright showed me a picture, Duds, of you, Bright, and then the other Notorious gang.
Yeah,
and
the NFNP gang. Yes.
It was old. It was like it was way before my time, right? So it's at least like 15, 20 years old. And one of you is one or two of you are holding like a bottle of beer, and it gets put into motion. So like, you're standing there, and then all of a sudden they start moving, kind of like in the same way that now we take photos and they're live, and you can kind of like play it back. So it looks live, but like, at first it looks fine, and like everybody's kind of turning their heads, or they're smiling, or they're jumping, but then all of a sudden the bottles start doing weird stuff, and I'm like, okay,
hey, it's not perfect,
not real.
No,
this
but
is
still,
AI.
yeah, it's AI, but it's still pretty cool. And we grew up in that age, Duds, and teach you too.
I'm not that much younger than you.
I know, but we didn't take a lot of photos back then. It's not like we had cameras in our pockets all the time. We didn't have cell phones really, and even if we did, they didn't have cameras on them. And unless we were hanging out with some ladies, which, let's be honest, was rare back then, they were the ones usually that either had a digital camera or the disposable camera. So we don't have a lot of those photos. So I thought it was kind of cool that one of the photos that we do have with the majority of the NFNP gang, we were able to, Duds, you were able to take that photo, bring it to life. And so I mimicked that, and I found one picture of my grandma and grandpa that I have on my phone. and did the same thing and sent it to my dad. It was just like, hey, how cool is this? And of course, my grandma and grandpa have passed. So my dad said he thought it was cool. Hopefully he didn't think it was creepy, but
I know it is so weird though to see it, because it changes things too, and it just morphs people. It's weird.
And we're really just scratching the surface with this whole AI thing. I mean, of course, ChatGPT and Grok and all of the video editing and picture editing and creation. So where it goes from here, because OpenAI, ChatGPT, AI really only came out 2 years ago?
Not hardly.
Yeah, it's crazy. And when you think about, we know how exponential technology is in general, but the AI is going to start improving itself, and it's just going to get better and better and better. And if you go look at some of those AI photos from 2 years ago or the very first AI videos, they are horrendous. And when you look at how much they are now, how much better they are, they're 10 times better now in only 2 years. So they're going to be 100 times better in 10 years or less. It's going to be nuts. So it's adapt or die, if you ask me. I'm all in. I do as much as I can with AI now. Anything that not only is fun, but can get me ahead work-wise and save me time and all of that. I love it, and I'm glad you're finally on the on board, Duds.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. The only thing I'm worried about is the the market and how much money is just kind of being created and thrown at all this AI, these big contracts, and I think that they're just asking for a giant bubble to burst, and then
maybe. So look at it,
back the whole industry.
Yeah, maybe. Look at it this way. So back during the Cold War, which we're kind of in a Cold War now with China, maybe not to the extent that we were with the Soviet Union, but what were we throwing money at during the Cold War back in the 60s? Anybody know? Space race, right?
Oh, look, teach in for the win on history.
The only reason that we went to the moon back then was so that we could say we beat the Soviet Union and we were more advanced than the Soviet Union, and to scare the Soviet Union and their people essentially into submission, that the USA was way more advanced. But once the Cold War ended, even before then, we haven't gone back to the moon since 1972, right?
Yeah, but we have sent telescopes and we've sent rovers.
Yeah, we've done a lot of other cool things.
Farther.
That's what they say.
Missions.
That's what they say,
right? Yes. Yeah. Again, conspiracy theory for another episode.
Write that down for podcast 2 or whatever the conspiracy. I feel like
because that one's never been done before.
Conspiracy episode needs to be like number 7.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll see. Well, I think this was a lot of fun. Whether or not it's successful or we publish or people listen to it, just actually having a conversation, talking about what's going on in the world, what's important to us, I find interesting. I find fun. And I thank you two, Duds and Teach, for going on this journey with me. What'd you guys think?
I thought it was fun.
All right.
I think it would be more fun in person, but
yeah, it certainly would be. And maybe we can get there someday. Maybe we can get the other NFNP gang members involved, and we might have to get them involved, Duds, because you're more fun when they're here. Duds, what did you think about it? I think it was fun. That's all you got? Come on, you got to give me more than that. We're on a podcast, man. Teach, what you think?
No, I don't have that many. What are those verbs? Adverbs? Teach, help me out. What are those?
Well, an adverb would describe a verb, so you're looking for an adjective. I think I had a good time hanging out with you. I mean, it was nice to take a break from the constant planning and the constant planning and the constant answering emails from parents and the constant just like getting ready for the next school day. Like, it's nice to just kind of be, but I do agree with Duds, like a in-person Maybe with drinks, maybe we could have like a resident bartender. Like, I mean,
Hey,
anybody, somebody,
I've
me,
got
like,
my
could,
beer.
I mean, but like a resident bartender could like make us some nice cocktails. Like, I could get behind that.
We'll have to be at like
I
Joe
think,
Rogan
you
level
know what
for
I think?
that.
You need to do your podcast like once a week, right?
Yeah.
So you have to get probably these types of podcasts in, and then if you want to do the in-person ones, like you said, you could do them once a month and then see how, that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you
And
go.
you gotta build an audience. You gotta have fun with it. We gotta get the other NFNP.
But you actually have to make you have to create the episodes, so you have to get them in however you can.
100%. And we all have real jobs, and some of us have children, and it can get to be a challenge. But
Literally everybody on here right now has children, so it's not
I
like
know.
some of
And the
us.
ones
It's
that
like
didn't join are the ones that don't have children. So what up with that? We're gonna have to give them a
absurd.
hard time.
Maybe
It is
they're
absurd.
trying to have children right now.
And
Right?
maybe that's what they're doing.
10-15.
You're right. You're right. That is what they're doing. I hope so. Good for them. I hope that's the case. Nevertheless, I'm going to give them a hard time. I'm going to send them this episode, and I'm going to say, hey, look at how much fun we had. This could be you. But until next week, thank you guys. Thanks, Duds. Thanks, Teach. We'll say, what's the sign off? This is the NFNP.
This number has been disconnected.